Welcome to the latest episode of the Informing Choices Minipod. Let me start with a question and a list. What do Barbados, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Gabon, Honduras, Iceland, Lithuania, Moldova, New Zealand, Samoa, Serbia, Sweden, Tanzania, Togo, and Tunisia all have in common? As of May 2022, they all have women as their prime minister or head of the nation's executive. And many other countries have also seen multiple occasions where women have led their respective governments. The question is, how does global society build on these notable successes and extend the representation of women across society for the good of all humanity into the future? And how might technology support the empowerment of women to achieve their potential? To discuss empowering women through FEMTECH, I'm honoured to welcome Moroccan-based Doctor Hynd Bouhia to the podcast. Hynd has accumulated more than 20 years of experience in finance and strategy. She was nominated by Forbes among the 100 most influential women and most influential Arab women in business in 2015, and honoured as a member of the Johns Hopkins Society of Scholars 2018. Hynd is now on a mission to empower 1 billion girls and women around the world to grow confident, resilient, tech-savvy, and financially free. Hynd, a warm welcome to the podcast. Firstly, have I missed anything out of your wonderful resume?
No, this is amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Steve, and for this beautiful introduction.
You're very welcome. I have to admit, this is kind of a relatively new area to me, although the challenge of gender equality around the world is, of course, not. But let's start with some basics. What is FEMTECH?
Very good. Yes. May I go back to your introduction, because I wanted to say a word when you were listing all those countries and say, what do we have in common? And the fact that they have women prime minister. And I think it's wonderful that you start with that, because that's exactly what allows women to feel inspired, to feel motivated, to feel that they have role models to look up to. This young generation is really lucky because we see more of that. And just 2 days ago at the Harvard commencement, Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, was making the commencement speech. And that's what she started with, is that, you have prime ministers having babies while in office. And it's okay. It's okay to be a woman, to celebrate being a woman, and to be a great leader, because you can do them, both of them. And, it's a good transition to FEMTECH, because FEMTECH is actually about everything around health, female health, and technology. So it's this combination between using technology to help to provide better services, health services for women. And it's not very known. I mean, often we tend to feel like when you say FEMTECH, you're just going to think, okay, women in technology. Yeah. But it's not that. It's actually a whole sector that is developing so much and accelerating fast. So it's real, and it's good, because more you see, and this is really the illustration that technology is helping us as a human, helping us to have access to better health, to have access to well-being, and to generalize that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes when you talk to technologists, and I'm going to generalize massively here, it's almost as if sometimes technology is looking for a problem to solve, rather than acknowledging that technology is a tool that we can deploy in certain areas. So you've already spoken about health. Technology has a critical role to play in education of girls and women, doesn't it? As well as being able to communicate more broadly across the world, to network, to collaborate. One small piece, is it? It's interlocked.
Exactly. And technology is making life easier. Education, health. I mean, look at what during the pandemic, if we didn't have those technologies, how could students carry on with the courses and the classes? So it is an enabling technology, an enabling future. Isn't that your word? Didn't you talk about that? Is making the future easier, or looking at a new future?
Yeah,
I think
exactly
it is,
right. as you were
Yeah.
talking then, I was thinking about a speech I gave last night, actually, where I was kind of returning to a theme I've spoken about quite a lot in the past, which is a very human future. And that is using technology as the enabler to that, and
Exactly.
making sure that we don't, if you like, bow down to the superior nature of technology. Technology is a tool to help us be more human, not to lose
Absolutely.
our humanity.
Absolutely. And this is the illustration of it. So really, let's go back to FEMTECH. And FEMTECH, so it's a term that was first coined in 2016 by the entrepreneur Ida Tin. She was really the pioneer in this sector. And in the course of just few years, it has grown to integrate a range of technology-enabled and consumer-centric products and solutions around health. It's addressing women's health, diagnosis, supplements, telemedicine, everything around the material health, menstrual health, pelvic health, fertility, menopause, contraception, and a number of general health conditions that are very important for women to monitor and to be on top of.
Is one of the greatest challenges of this about how you get those kind of technologies, the application of those technologies for the benefit of women all around the world? Because I immediately imagine, put it this way, that some of these technologies will already be in place in some parts of the world, but there are many challenges to make them truly global.
Absolutely. And we need to make them global. I think these are the type of technology that would benefit every woman around the world. I mean, just as of, I think, December 2021, these FEMTECH, they reached, in terms of funding, $2.5 billion. So clearly, this is a huge sector growing fast because the returns are in double digits. So it's going to be growing. And what we need more is those champions, large investors, large corporations who will be able to take that overseas to places like Africa, South Asia, Latin America, places where we are still lacking the access to health for women during their maternity, during their pregnancy, during their birth, and after that. And if we are able to make that accessible and easy, we will do so much to women's development, to women empowerment, because when they feel good, when the well-being is covered, then they can contribute to the economy. They can be a real actor to the economy, but also to prepare the next generation that will take on and contribute to the growth of their region, their country, their continent. And I talk about Africa, really like to focus on that as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve.
No, that's all right. It's really, really interesting. I mean, one of the things that came to my mind then is, do you see a requirement for greater collaboration between enterprise and politics and governments to actually enable that to happen?
Yes, absolutely. I think we are at a time where everything needs to come through partnerships.
Yeah.
They all need to partner. I mean, it's not no longer, this is the role of the public sector, this is the role of the private sector. Corporations have revenues that are bigger than countries' GDPs. They are huge. I mean, they are so powerful. So, and they offer 60% or more of jobs around the world. So the role that they play is really big, and they need to be taking the lead with public policies, with national strategies to improve the access to health. And that's because we focus on health here. And I know that the basics, I mean, once you get health and education, those are the two pillars, then you're ready. Your foundation is ready to do growth, to create value, to prepare the next generation, to see more women in leadership positions, to empower women, and to have them contribute to the overall growth.
Do you think the role of big tech and the evolution of big tech as those massive enterprises that you've just laid out there, do they represent a bit of a social dilemma as well? because of the power that they have, the first of all, the financial power they have, as you rightly put it, bigger than some countries' GDP, but also the political and social power they have through their social networks, for example. Do we have to be careful what freedom we allow them to have? Is there a slightly different balance between guidance and governance that we need to have around those organizations to ensure that they are enablers rather than blockers of some of the progress that you're talking about?
You know, these your question is interesting, because these corporations today, they know that everything comes down to their branding, and branding, it's no longer something they decide. It's the consumers, it's people.
Yeah.
So, and people today, everyone knows that we have no way out but being in sustainability, being in helping everyone, more social. People are coming back to that humanness, that love for others, love for each other, love for helping others. And so they don't have a choice. This is not even a decision they discuss or they debate. They need to be large contributor to sustainability. I like to package all that in sustainability, because that's what it is when they think about their economic well-being, they have good social impact, and they protect the environment. So they have these three pillars. So when they integrate sustainability in their vision, in their strategy, in their way of being, their branding is better, because people will like them. They will have more consumers. They'll have, the word is just changing because of technology. Again, technology is making things go towards hopefully more human future. And that's what we want to strive for.
There's a really nice segue there into something else that I wanted to speak about as well, which is the role of FEMTECH in achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I'm a big fan of the development goals, because I think they represent a really nice balanced perspective on the way we need to think about the future. Yes, we need to be careful of the environment, but we need to create an economic platform in order for civilization to continue to function, and so on. But a couple of the goals particularly seem like they would resonate with some of the ideas that you're talking about. So things like gender equality, things like good health and well-being, things like quality education. So do you see FEMTECH playing a significant role in supporting the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and particularly those?
Absolutely. FEMTECH will be advancing so much in the health sustainable development goal, and also in gender goals as well. Gender, to me, is a goal that is crossing all of the others. It's like wherever you talk about anything, you need to have gender. It's like, okay, if you don't take care of gender is just like cross everywhere.
Yeah.
And FEMTECH, advanced technology, advanced health, job creation, and also education. And partnerships. You talked about partnerships. These are the Sustainable Development Goals number 17, creating partnerships. And I want to go back to, when we spoke about corporates, cosmetics leaders like L'Oreal. L'Oreal is a big corporation everywhere in the world. And they also starting to invest in this FEMTECH by linking, the health technology into the skin, into how the products can be adapted to better fit these health issues. So you can see more and more large corporations getting interested in that. And more they get interested in that, is there will be more investment, and you will see more the creation of a technology, of structures that just help in places where they need still to be well taken care of during their pregnancy and childbirth, because that we still have women dying from childbirth in some of the areas in Africa, in some of the remote areas in Asia. And these things should not exist today in 2022. And if these technologies will make it possible to set up structures in remote areas where it can be monitor the health issues, the female health, and improve these, sad stories that we still hear unfortunately, but they do exist. And this is not accessible, not acceptable. And more the social networking is growing, more we see of them. And so it will attract more interest and more investment going into that direction, and more foundation investing in that the health issue as well.
That's a really interesting perspective, actually, that I hadn't thought of. So the very technologies that you're talking about, and particularly the social networks, one of the things that they allow us to do is actually make some of these global problems visible. And perhaps that's a big part of the solution, is understanding that these things do go on, they do continue, and it doesn't feel right in 2022 to allow them to.
Absolutely.
Finally, Hynd, tell us a little bit about the program that you have that kind of sits behind your goal of empowering 1 billion girls around the world, girls and women around the world, to grow confident, resilient, tech savvy, and financially free. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. This is my mission, which I embrace fully. And that's why I wake up every morning and I do my work. It's because I have created a method, which is the BAN method: believe, act, and lead, to help professional women, to help women, entrepreneur, executive, just women, become great leaders by creating wealth and making an impact. And when I say creating wealth, it's really creating wealth for themselves, or contributing to creating wealth through large organizations and impacting the world. Because to me, when you empower women, they become so inspired and so ready to empower others. And that's the ripple effect that we need to see happening in the world today. Do you know that we are today, as we sit in here, 150 million girls are not going to school. 150 millions. That's a huge number. And imagine these girls will be mothers, and these mothers will have children. And so we're talking about 1 billion of created by them when they grow up. How can that be possible in this today? It's just not. That's why more you empower women to become financially free, to become confident, to become tech savvy. Because if they're access technology, they can access and help their girls study and get an expertise in something. I mean, it could be as basic as small, little things, creating sewage, just something that brings them, that makes them have a role in their economy, be financially autonomous, and take care of their health and their education, and prepare the next generation. So much to be done. And so, my program, I've already benefited hundreds of women, and, I see women's life changing. I see it changing because we have through, when you believe, and that's why the first phase is to believe, when you believe in the possibilities, in their capacity of creating a better life for themselves, they boost their confidence, their self-image. They feel that they're worthy for a better life, worthy to attract money in their lives, to attract respect and appreciation. And then when they know that, so it's all mindsets, because, traditions, cultures have, I won't say corrupted the voice inside of women, but that's what it is, because it put them in a box, feeling that they cannot be otherwise. But that's not what it should be. Because when they change their mindset, they are able to create better lives for themselves by just believing in themselves. And the second phase is to act on it by, setting up strategies, reverse engineering. What do you want to create? What do you want to do? When you want to have a month, how can you engineer that and have a plan that would where you can reach that, either by getting more skills, more expertise, by branding yourself better, by getting the confidence to talk about yourself, about your product, to sell your product. And then after that, when you have both, you are a leader. And that's being a leader. That's being empowered so that you can lead others, so that you can inspire others, so that you can empower others.
Well, Hynd, that's been absolutely fantastic. And I think you've really eloquently described, if you like, initially the mindset challenge there. And the other thing I would say is that this is not just a mindset challenge in what typically in the West we might think of as the developing world, because I think it remains a mindset challenge in what we think of as the developed world as well. So I think it's completely right to think of this as a global challenge and not just a regional challenge or a challenge for part of the world. Hynd, that's been absolutely fantastic. It's so lovely to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
And thank you everyone for listening. Do let your friends and colleagues know about the Informing Choices mini pod, and there'll be another episode along very soon.